Time to learn about some real estate. How to get to the closing table. How to make sure your deal works. I look forward to y'all. Let's go. All right, so let's get things started. So how do we get to the closing table? Right now, I'm going to talk about it from a house hacking perspective and strictly an investment property that's not your residence. Okay, so the if anybody saw the statistic, I think Envy put it out there, so did MG the mortgage guy, that home ownership for us black folk has gone down to 44%. Considering the work we've been doing the last couple of years, we would hope that number had got up. So the closing table, it just when you're sitting at the table with your attorneys or the title company and you're signing the paperwork to buy the house, and it's closing, like you're actually closing on the home. It is the title is going to transfer from the seller to you or your LLC or your entity. All right. Yeah, 44%. That hurts my heart. That hurts my heart. This is driving it's driving us nuts. It's not something that we want to see. Obviously, I want you to own investment properties in respects even as a house hack, anything of that nature. So let's talk about how we get to the closing table. So let's talk first about house hacking. That's the easier of the two. So if you are in the market to buy a 2, 3, 4 family, even a 1 family, want to rent out rooms or whatever the case is as a house hack, first and foremost, obviously, we all know the formula. Make sure our credit score is above a 620, especially for FHA. You want to have at least 3.5% down plus a little bit of the closing costs. You might be able to get a little bit of that from the seller as part of a seller's concession. Let's talk about the seller's concession. So for those who don't know, if I'm buying a house on my own and I'm using conventional financing, I'm allowed to ask the seller to increase the price by 3%. Or let's say I want to buy the house at $100,000, right? And that's what the seller's asking. I might say, hey, I'll give you your $100,000, but I want you to give me $3,000 as a closing credit, right? The reason you want a closing credit is so that they can help you pay for the closing cost. So in most cases with an FHA or conventional loan, you're going to have the down payment amount, but you're going to have anywhere from 3 to 5% of the purchase price in closing costs. So if you're buying a house for for $100,000, know that you're going to spend from $3,000 to $5,000 in closing costs. So if you don't want that to come out your pocket, you ask the seller to help you do that. All right, so that's an important piece. Now, yes, you can do a seller's concession for FHA. It's up to 3% max. All right, so do know that. The other aspect is obviously you gotta have that ready. Make sure your paperwork is tight, and please, for the love of God, do not buy anything that will impact your credit while you're waiting to close on the loan, i.e. a new car, a new credit card, a new store card. You are banned from doing anything with credit until you close. You can wait the day you close, go wild. Till then, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Oh, I'm sorry. Just put my thing here. I like to have my little H in the background, so I don't know why it's not coming through, but you know how computers go. Nope, not even that. Can't even do that. No augmentations. Not at all. All right? At least nothing that'll show up on your credit report. So you can't have like CareMed or nothing on your credit report until you close. Does everyone understand that? Give me a thumbs up, hands up, that you understand that. Nothing that hits your credit. I want to make sure we're getting it. Like, we got to get this. This is one of the reasons why we mess up in getting our places, is because we do dumb things before we're about to close. All right, good. Unless you have to, Carl. Unless you have to. If they say that your debt to income ratio is too high and you need to pay down some debt, or there's certain things you need to pay off, of course you could do that. But that's benefiting your credit. I'm talking about anything hitting your credit. When I say hit, that means bringing the points down, meaning any inquiries, purchases. Increase is one thing. Purchases, forget about it. You see, well, see, even pre knows. No inquiries on your credit until you go. Nothing. No, that's the vault. That's what I'm talking about. Nothing. You buy nothing. No credit usage. Nothing. Nothing. You leave your credit alone until you close. Plain and simple. If you're buying on a conventional mortgage, you want to be pristine for those 30, 45 to 60 days it takes to close. Correct. Do not touch anything that affects your credit in a negative fashion. If you want to pay something down and you got extra money, sure. But as far as anything else, as far as pulling credit, checking if you're nothing, nada, zilch, zero. The entire process. Because when they pull your credit on, let's say they pulled your credit on Jan 1, right? And you're closing on March 1st. So 2 months. But you did a couple things in between and it hits your credit and it hasn't updated that it's improved over that time frame, it could jeopardize your closing. Yeah, it's sometimes they ask for the silliest things. Talk to Ace One about that one, just in case. All right. So if you're just joining, we're talking about how to get to the closing table using conventional financing. So that's if you're buying a 1, 2, 3, or 4 family in your name, and or even an entity, but you're putting 20% down, but you're using conventional and it's a house hack, right? So we do not mess up our credit at all, and be ready, right? When you get to that closing table, be ready to sign in triplicate. They make you sign a lot of stuff, right? It's getting a little bit better now with the abilities to do electronic stuff, so it's not as bad. But that's fair. That's fair. So absolutely do not touch your credit, please. Please, 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 please. All right. Does everyone understand? It's really not that hard. If you have a 620 and up credit score, the higher your credit score, the easier this becomes. But as long as you're above a 620 and you don't mess with your credit and you get to the closing table, you'll be done. Julie 11. Hold on, where are you located, Julie 11? Before I make a statement on that. In Rockland. Yeah. Okay. That I can understand that. The taxes in Rockland, Westchester, all those areas are pretty high. There's one or two things you need to do. Either you're gonna have to save some more money to put more money down, or you might have to find something that's slightly distressed and then rehab it with a 2 or 3K or home style loan. Because then the cost of acquisition and the rehab should be less than what you would pay on the open market, and that should help your debt to income and your budget numbers. Being added to the authorized user, well, it depends if the authorized user card has low usage. So you want to do all that stuff before you apply for the credit for the mortgage. Try to do that way before they pull your credit for mortgage. One Elvison in the middle of the refi. In the refi, a little bit different. Refi is a little bit different. That means you own something already. I'm talking about you trying to get to the table and you're trying to purchase either your first, second, third, whatever it is property. Just don't screw yourself up in doing that. We want to make sure that that deal goes through, because that's going to start the momentum or continue the momentum if it's not your first property. That's a critical piece. Listen, folks, I don't want you to buy anything stupid. Don't overpay for anything. That's not the right idea either. But we have to be in a position to make some things happen, and that's why we've a lot of us teach you about that distress side. Okay, please do. And if you don't see it, just re-forward it. I'm especially when it comes to mentorship stuff, I usually attack that very quickly, so I apologize if I didn't. It could have got caught up in something or like spam, and I'll make sure I check that tonight as well. But anyway, so the reason we talk about the distress side of things is there's less competition sometimes for the distress stuff, right? There's still increased competition now because of the way the market is, but there's still less competition than something that's ready to move in 1, 2, 3. Because anybody can go into that. Not everybody got the heart to work through the rehab, wait a few months, and things of that nature. So sometimes you got to be in a position to say, you know something, I'll do that distressed property, use the 2 or 3K loan, and then move forward on my purchase. And a lot of times that's to your benefit because you'll have built-in equity already in, and you're getting something for a better deal, which could be in an area that's a growing market. Because Rockland's growing, Westchester growing, all these areas are growing. Even Connecticut, I don't know if you saw it, they said that Connecticut homes were up like insane amount of money over in 2020, right? So you definitely want to make sure you get in the game, but get in the game the right way. So sometimes that might mean being a little slower and doing a rehab. So usually depends on if you're getting a loan through their lender. Usually they're going to run it the first time around, and then they're going to run it at least one more time, usually just prior to closing. And typically in a new construction, depends on how they set it up. They may ask you for a small down payment, and then a few months later, a little bit more down payment, and then when you come to the closing table, a little bit more down payment. But from the lending side, they shouldn't really affect your, and that's a question you can ask them, but they shouldn't be touching your credit until you get closer to closing. Because you need that initial for the pre-approval initially, but then after that, they shouldn't be touching your credit. I mean, listen, that's what when I was entrenched into the real estate brokerage side of the business, all I did was new construction, and I'm the one who ran the developments and was the ones who got the pre-approvals and stuff like that. I was the one who's and I never heard of a lender. I know as a new development, we didn't need to run your credit 3 or 4 times. We needed you to know you can afford it the first time, and that you can close come that time. That might have to be hard money, and that's what we're going to talk about in a minute. Nakia, what if you're buying a house and it's appraised exactly for the purchase price? Is that good or bad? I'm buying a house for $300K and appraised. No. So sometimes the appraisers are a little conservative. They don't want to give you more than what you're buying it for, even though it might have a touch more. That means it was close, and they rather err on the side of caution and just give you what it is that you're buying it for. So that's not necessarily bad, unless it's distressed. If it's distressed and it needs work and appraised at $300,000 after you did the work, that'd be a problem for me. But if it's $300,000 before you did the work, and after you do the work, it's worth another, I don't know, 60, 70, 80, 100 grand, whatever, that's good. Now, as far as the seller, if they're asking for cash, you need to have a relationship with a hard money lender. Or somebody, or private money lender who has the cash to buy that house. And they'll give you a letter of proof of funds, and saying, hey, I'm going to buy this house with these guys. Now, understand you better be ready to close as quickly as a cash buyer can close, which is usually 30 days. And most hard money people can close within 2 weeks to 30 days, as long as everything's tight. So I would have all my stuff in paperwork with that hard money lender that you know and should be able to do the deal, have it ready to go. And now you can put an offer as a cash buyer versus a loan. Even though it's a loan, but to the seller, it's really no different. It's not like the typical bank. All right. Any questions on buying a regular, using a regular conventional mortgage to buy your investment property? Either, again, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Remember, it has to be one of those. It has to be considered residential for a house hack. So you can get a regular loan. So Devontae, you can use hard money, right? And let's say even if the house, usually, this so you know how hard money works, they want to see you have a deal, meaning that the house, when you buy it, is less than the value would be later on. Meaning, let's say you have to update it or fix it, change the bathrooms, this, that, and the other. Meaning, so the after repair value, ARV. So, for instance, I want to buy a house that's $100,000, right? But if I put up, if I put 25, 50 grand into it, it'll be worth 270. That to them, it makes sense. If you're buying a house that's 270, and when you close and you don't do anything to it, and it's still 270, they may not give you the loan because there's no win for them. Because what they know what you'll be trying to do is essentially buy the house, cash, go refi it right after you close within a few months, and they don't make any real money. They want you to hold the loan for at least 6-7 months so that they get some of that interest money and things of that nature. And they're typically more expensive, which we're about to go over. That they're more expensive than conventional lenders. So obviously, I'm gonna call you the vault. It depends on the purchase price. It's gonna vary, right? It's gonna depend on how much you put down. Everything is a nuance. It's a sliding scale. The more you put down, the less you may need at closing because you're borrowing less. So then your mortgage, your mortgage tax should be a little less if you buy in New York. I don't know if every state has a mortgage tax. Depends on what the mortgage, what the mortgage payment's going to be, what the tax is going to be, what the insurance, what kind of loan you use, so forth. Like FHA tends to be a little more expensive in regards to closing costs because you have what's called private mortgage insurance, PMI. So you got to pay some of that up front, and then you're going to have that every month for the life of the loan. Almost messed up there. Hold on. There we go. Let's go ahead. Delete that. Let's see what I'm seeing here. All right, Alejandro. I'll call you that. Either one of them. Depends what mood we're in. And there's my man Danny Bills Holmes. What up, family? Okay, let's see. What if the rentals don't cover the mortgage? What else can help you purchase it? What you mentioned. So let's say the mortgage is $2,000 a month, including taxes, insurance, all that stuff, and you're collecting $1,000 a month. That means you got to come up. Now, the banks usually use about 70%, so that means they're using 700, as in this example. So if they're using, but that's usually gross rents, not net rents. They're usually using gross rents. So let's say that's the 1,000 is the gross, 700 is what they're giving you. That means they want you to pay. They want to know that you can afford the $1,300 a month. You just got to prove that based on your debt-to income, $1,300 a month is not something. It's not a problem for you to cover. That's pretty much it. Yes, you typically have to have at least the policy in force with a payment or two done. Most lenders like it paid the year up front, but they'll take 6 months, I think. Sometimes it varies. Jules, will you give me the? Well, I mean, I don't know if you give me the thumbs down, but what do you give the thumbs down on? That's what I'm afraid of. If I buy a house with a hard money lender, I have to bring 20% to the table. I got to pay the mortgage. Being renovated. Yes, you do. But that might be the only way for you to get it. And if you have a house that has equity in it, you're going to cash out, refi, get your money back, the 20% you put down, and move on with your life. It's all about the right deal. And there's the right time and the wrong time to use hard money. And usually the wrong time, most hard monies won't lend it to you anyway. And if you're a newbie, they definitely won't lend it to you. And the better your track record, the better the down payment, right? So for a newbie, they're going to ask you 20 to 25% down. Somebody like me, I can get 10, 15% in most cases, depending on the lender, depending on the property. But now that the 10% are back, I've been seeing 10%. But sometimes I've been asked for 15. Okay. As long as I get the deal done. You should reach out to your broker, your insurance broker, and let them know you're gonna need this for closing. All right. Just to make sure, I don't want to, move too quickly. Any other questions on hard money? I mean, not hard money. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Conventional. We're about to go into hard money. That's what I meant to ask. Anything else? Give me a thumbs up, hands up if I can move forward to now go into hard money and closing on an investment property. Will you have a year reserves help you to qualify if the house is... Yes, that definitely does help. If you have reserves and you can show that besides, your monthly, your 9 to 5 income or business income, and you have, plenty of reserves, that definitely helps. They like to see the income, but having reserves, they're going to calculate that. That's something that's more of a mortgage person question, but there is a calculation for that. That's for, you would be tipping your lawyer, typically, if you want to, but maybe the title company, but not a necessity. No, not at all. Nakia, not at all. Again, the math has to make sense, right? So, I'll give an example. Let's say I want to buy a house, but I'm going to say, I can use hard money to get me a better deal because I can buy cash, and I can rehab it and make it how I want it to live in it. So I'm going to look at, okay, let's say, again, I'm going to use easy numbers. The house is asking $150,000. I'm probably going to have to put $50,000 worth of work to make it really nice in the way I want to. But if I do that, the house would be worth $300,000. So, but now think about it from a bank perspective. Now, when I'm only into it for $200,000, give or take. So when I go, but I'm not going to want to borrow more money if I don't need to. I might cash out until I take out a little bit, but let's say if I don't, I'm only borrowing $200,000, but the house is appraised for $300,000. So to them, I'm putting more than 20% down. That's a no-brainer for a bank. That's a no-brainer. Cool. Let's go to hard money now. So remember last week I spoke to you about and if you missed it, you can go back and watch the live on my IGTV. And again, all of these are going to be moving to YouTube soon. So get them on IG while you can. If you feel that hard money is going to be the best route for you, right? Go back and watch that if you haven't seen it already. But if you saw it last week, I appreciate that, Lady Ree. You have to be the lender, right? For the hard money lender. So same thing. They don't need as much paperwork. They don't care as much as your debt to income ratio and all that stuff. But they do care about a few things. And I'll do a quick synopsis for you. Recap. You have to have anywhere from 10 to 20% down, depending on your track record. You have to have some money for closing costs and a little bit to start the rehab, right? Because the reason being, though they might lend you 100% of the rehab, they do it in what's called draws, meaning You do the work, you request the money, they give it back to you, and then you go back and do another phase of the work, and so forth and so on until your project is done. So if your first bit of work is $5,000, and you need that for, materials and labor, you might have to have that $5,000 ready, go do the work, have them come in, check it for the draw, and then boom, they either wire, they'll wire you, usually they'll wire, nowadays they'll wire you the money for that. All right, does that make sense, everybody? And then, you have to have an LLC, because they will not close in your personal name, so you must have an LLC. And I think that's pretty much it. Now, to get to that closing table though, so make sure, if you don't have a track record, you give them everything that they want and show them that you're capable of paying back this loan and that you can get this done, and you better have a good deal. If the deal is tight and you're a newbie, they most likely won't lend to you, because they're not sure if you'll be able to get the deal to the finish line. Or they send an inspector out. The vault. They're gonna send an inspector out. They're gonna review the work. He or she's gonna check everything off, send it back to the lender, and say, "Hey, it's done." Send them their money. All right. So now, if you do have a be prepared. Once you're applying, they're gonna ask you for that track record and proof that you were part of these deals. So make sure you have all that paperwork available to yourself, and available so that you can provide it to them. And once you do that, you should be good to go. And again, you need to have those things at the closing table. So you need less in ways of, you still have to have decent credit. I think most of them want at least a 600, 620 for them to lend to you. But the better your credit, the better and easier the process goes, the less money you might need down, and things of that nature. What they may also want is, which I told you about last week, if you're a newbie, they may want 1 to 6 months of the interest payments paid up front at closing. So meaning you may not have no payments for 6 months, but you're going to have that money up front. For me, I don't like that, because I like cash flow. So I like to have money available when I need it, and then I can always move things around. So I don't like putting big chunks out if I don't have to. But that's just me. Everybody's different. Some people might want to do that and not have to think about it for a few months. Since a few more people are on since I started, let me share this message again. Excuse me. If you want to partner with me to build your track record, and you got some funds to work with, email me, put partnership, track record, whatever you want in the subject, so I know, and I'll hit you up and we can have a conversation about that. I'm doing that right now with 2 gentlemen. It's helping build their track record. It's going to show that they have a deal under their belt, and if they continue to do deals with me, they'll continue to build their track record. And usually for you to get the best rates, they want to see 3 deals within a 3-year period. 2 to 3 year period. So if you can show 2 to 3 deals, 3 deals or more, you'll usually get the best rates and the best programs that they have. The deals with private lenders help you build your tracker. Yes, but you got to complete the deal. They want to see a deal completed. All right. Yes, if you're showing that as an investment property, right? So I used a conventional lender for my very first property that I bought with my cousin. We still own that property to this day, and that's part of my track record, because I still own it and I'm showing that I purchased something and I made it work. So yes, that can count towards your track record. Again, as long as you can show that here's the thing. Here's the only caveat to that. You can't currently live in it. So if you bought a house hack and you bought a 4-unit and then now you live in a 3, the 4-unit will count, the 3 won't, because that's your personal residence. Personal residence cannot count towards your track record. Let's see. Does the hard money lender determine what work should be done on? No. You do. Everything is up to you. They're gonna ask you for a rehab budget. So how this works? Let me break it down for y'all. So just in case you've never done this before, you're gonna send them the numbers. The numbers are: what is the purchase price? What is the rehab budget? and then what's the ARV. If those make sense, you move to next phase 2, which is, hey, let's do this deal, run an application. If you haven't done business with them, they'll do all that stuff. But if you've done deals with them, they usually have all your paperwork anyway. But then they're going to ask for what's called a scope of work, SOW, scope of work. So that's going to be written up by your contractor showing what will be done to improve the property. And then what they're going to do is order an appraisal that you pay for. That's usually, anyway, especially for 1 to 4, is usually $600 to $700. And they're going to, what the appraiser is going to do is say, this is the as-is value now, and this is what the value will be once they do these repairs, because based on the comps that have similar repairs or similar features, this is what they're worth. Okay? That's an art form, Alejandro. That's an art form. And it's all going to depend on where you're located. There's going to be cost of labor. Some places are a lot more expensive than others. Some places like New York. So once you start doing deals in that area, you'll start to get a feel of what one floor costs, 2 floors, how much I'm gonna rehab per unit if it's a gut rehab. It's gonna figure out the rehab, and then you got to figure is it a full gut, is it just a cosmetic? But what you can do, once you start getting a feel for stuff, you can walk a house and say, okay, boom, boom. If there's no surprises behind the wall, and you'll have a rough idea, and then you can always err on the side of caution to add a few bucks to it, just to make sure you're within budget. So, like for instance, I'm looking at a deal. I gave a guesstimate, and once we did the walkthrough, my guesstimate was wrong. It was higher. So I'm talking to my lenders and like, yo, I'm gonna need more money. Can you still do the deal? Does this work for you? But I'm gonna give a lower asking price. I'm gonna give a lower offer to the seller. But like, yo, I can't pay this number. Look how much work I gotta do. You gotta give me for this deal. So it's a nuance. It's a game. Any questions on that so far? If you got that, hands up, thumbs up, or thumbs up, hands up, you get my point. I want to make sure you guys are getting this. This is critical because you got to get to that closing table. No closing table, no deal. No deal, no investment. No investment, no fun. No generational wealth. No cash flow. No cheddar. Guap. Moolah. All right, good. Devontae got it. Everybody else? Y'all understand this? I only see Devontae in the vault right now with my thumbs up. Just want to make sure, listen, I got to make sure y'all getting this. No, because it's a weird thing for lenders. They think it's a downgrade when you go from 2 to 3. Because they're like, why would somebody want to deal with more tenants? They don't think like investors. It's the stupidest thing ever. You have to either go down. That's why we always say 4, 3, 2, 1. Or you need to move to a location, which I believe, if we remember correctly, was 100 miles, 80 to 100 miles, or you had extenuating circumstances of why you had to move. And it has to be really good extenuating circumstances. I personally, Corey Isaiah, I personally like leverage. I like to lend. I like to use other people's money, and then that's it. But if you got the cash and you got a good deal and you can do it, and then you can cash out refi and get it done, hey, me personally, for that same cash, I might be getting 2 or 3 deals done. Well, you know what I mean? So it all depends on your style. Everybody's different. I don't knock nobody's style. I know somebody, they only do cash. God bless them. They're slow and steady, but they doing their thing. They don't, listen, they're doing all right. All right? So I'm not knocking anybody's hustle. Yes, you can do that. That's one way it can be done. So you might know in a certain area it's $35 a square foot to rehab, and if you know the square footage of the house, that could be your guesstimate. Because sometimes I'll use, if I haven't seen the property, I know it's distressed, and I'll think worst case scenario, like when I'm in Chicago, I think 35 per unit, 30 to 35,000 per unit. Total gut rehab. Now, if it's less than that, great. But I'd rather think on the worst case scenario. Correct. Let's see. I can imagine. My man at my best. At my best. What's up, family? I appreciate you coming through as you always do. Appreciate you coming through as you always do. If y'all don't know, at my best 197, you better follow that dude. That dude is murdering the game. I'm just gonna leave it at that. He's killing it. The dude already got 6 houses for this year. So just to give you an idea. Yep. See, there it goes. 6 deals so far this year. Salute. I'm working to catch up to you, brother. I'm working on catching up with you. I'm working on a few things right now. Not 6, but I'm working on a few things. That's my guy, everybody. That is my guy. Whew, fire. So now, in respects to getting to that closing table, that's what's necessary. I wanted to make sure everybody understood this. That way, there was no surprises, no shocks. I've heard people, unfortunately, wasting some realtors' things because as soon as they get to the closing table, they get cold feet or they get surprised by something that comes up, and then they back out of the deal, and you waste a lot of time, effort, and money. Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm catching up. I didn't say we competing. Matter of fact, you helping me out. So, come on, man. We that's how we do. There you go. There you go. So Kesh Taylor, I use hard money to purchase and rehab my investment properties because I can't do, right now I can't do conventional to buy the investment properties. I usually cash out or refi into conventional to make it better, but to get the property and to rehab it, yes, I do use hard money or private money. All right. Did everybody learn something tonight? Excuse me. Hands up, thumbs up. Well, no, I did, yeah. So you came in late, my brother. That's why I definitely mentioned. So even if they're giving you, and I repeat it just in case anyone missed it, even though they may say they're going to fund 100% of the rehab, it's done in draws. Meaning, you put money up, you fix whatever you're going to get fixed, you tell them it's done, then they send an inspector, he or she checks everything off that is done, and then they wire you the money. But they'll continuously do that until you're done with the project because they're willing to lend you that amount as the work gets done. But they're not just going to give you the money just to give you the money, because I guess from the old days people got burned, they give them the money, people disappear. So what they do is they make sure you get the work done, then they give you a disbursement. And listen, if you learned something tonight and you like what you're getting, the information you're getting here, make sure you're sharing this with all your friends, family, compadres, cohorts, in French fouet, hermanos, whatever works. Send it to everybody. Hermano. Send it to everybody. I'm being silly tonight. It's been a long day. Hey, I pay top dollar. The replay will be up, God willing. Instagram doesn't mess me up. Replay will be on. You come through. We talked about how to get to that closing table, making sure the deals happen. So like I said, if you got questions, you want to get down, figure out how to improve your track record for hard money lenders, email me, track record or partner, and you just press the email on my page, and it'll go directly to me. No, there's not. You're not buying or building, 200 unit building. All they care about is how much you're buying it for, how much it's going to cost to fix, and what will it be worth after it's done. That is what they care about. Now, they may want, if you're doing something a little out of the ordinary, they may want a resume of your track record, what you've done, and how you maneuver. Yes. But as far as usually, like I said, they're gonna send you their paperwork, put in your track record, this, that, and the other. They're gonna ask you from day one, do you have a track record? If you do, they're gonna give you either an Excel sheet or something to fill out each one of the deals you've done. I appreciate that, lady. Any other questions? I want to make this, sweet, succinct, straight to the point, and making sure y'all get to that bag at the closing table. Good practice. Have good terms, meaning if you're using hard money, have your hard money ready so that you can offer it as cash. Another thing is, being creative, beating people to the punch, trying to get there early. Try to find something that's on the market, to put an offer on before it hits the market like everybody else. Thank you, Kesh. Any other questions? But I want to make sure I'm covering everybody. I want to make sure I cover everything that y'all need to hear for tonight. And I need to get to that closing table, people. I need you at that closing table. Going once. Going twice. That's it. All right. So listen, I'm glad everybody was able to come through tonight, learn something, and how to get to that closing table. Listen, let's change that ownership to statistic, please. I want everybody on this live to own something. All right, come on, let's go. As my people would say, and my sis, as I call her, own some ish. All right, people, come on. This is 44%. We got to be above that 50% mark. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right.